Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June 27th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I am doing pretty good on the overall. Um, excuse me, I'm moi. Um, Definitely just having one of those days because I kind of mentioned it early, like the other day, where I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm feeling like I'm getting bigger." And like I feel like if anyone who has kind of weight issues and problem, like you are very in tune with your body on that stuff. I think, right? Like you just know it's like, yeah, I don't want to say something's off. I'm just like I'm plumper. I know it. And sure enough, I got my ass on that scale and I was 5 pounds plus. And I was so upset. I was so upset. I mean, granted, this has been like what, months since I've weighed myself. And I was just so in the weeds about that all day. It kind of like permeated some of my conversations, which is either better or worse. Sometimes though it is nice to like, talk about this to my friends and stuff like that. That is a nice thing about having like a network of people that is very digital. I will say that. But man, yeah, it's been mentally kicking my ass a little bit. But I've been thinking, I'm like, all right, let's not wallow in it. That's no good. That's not useful. Let's be proactive. So I think I'm gonna, and I don't want to go to like the masochistic route because that never works for me. Like at best, I do a week of like restrictions that are very harsh and regimented, and it's like, oh, okay, I won't eat this and I won't do that, and then I'm just like, I'm gonna be back on that like sooner or later. If I like deprive myself of treats, I'll just explode. So at the same time, like I know that there's always a compromise. There's always a budgeting that you can kind of do with yourself that hopefully will help. Because I know I've had some moments of progress where I have lost weight, and I'm hoping to kind of like maybe cue into that again. Maybe we're hope fingers crossed. But yeah, I'm gonna hopefully try to like drink a little bit less, as in like, give myself a little bit of like a beer stipend instead of just like drink what you want, do what you want. Like just like how about one a day, a cowboy shot a day, like something like that. And less, less treats, just less snacks, as much as I'm digging those coffee brewed M&Ms, I'm going to try to abstain, things like that. And I think another killer for me lately, and this is very easy because I've just been fucking talking about my food I eat all the goddamn time. It's like the pizza Fridays, like Domino's is like putting me in the grave right now. And I'm letting them, it is what it is. But I don't know. I got to come up with some like variations for my weekend in general because I just pig out. I'm just like a dog off the leash. And Baja Man could not catch me. I'm just eating everything and anything. So yeah, these are things I'm ruminating on. I'm tossing. As the food corner is pretty non-existent. I had not to say that I'm not starving myself, but I'm a cook after this. I had what did we eat? Some Cheetos puffs. And that's another thing too. I do think that's a big crux for me is I never eat healthy snacks. I just eat less. That's kind of the best dieting I can do for myself. I can add some like lettuce here and there, things of that nature. But it's hard. I'm living rough. I'm living hard. I'm sorry. All right. But thank you for listening to me. This is the personal aspect. Maybe there are some people who do tune in for this, and for a way, I obviously hope so. I hope both aspects of my project appeal to you. The personal aspect of like, hey, this is a guy I know, I'm getting to know. If you're a new first time listener, hi, what's up? What's going on? I'm fat. But also then the new stuff where I try to tackle things that are way above my goddamn pay grade. But there are issues that are happening all around us, and I like talking about it to someone, anyone, even if it's just this microphone, you, me, whatever, whatever, that's what we're doing here. That's the operation. Ooh, 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 wee. Man. All right. And we're back. Our first news story is from CNN. Prosecutor says there's insufficient evidence for murder charge against woman arrested in shooting of a black mother who knocked on her door. So this is an update on the murder of AJ Owens, Susan Lawrence. And I kind of got debated here. When I initially caught wind of this story, I thought that they were just going to drop charges. And, I read things like a head ass. I'm, not the smartest sometimes. I catch these things on the fly, via little push notifications. So I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe Florida really fucking went and did this shit. But granted, when I got to it and I read, through this article, though I'm not happy about a manslaughter charge, I accept it. We've talked about this before. When it comes, obviously, I'm no fucking lawyer. I'm just a trash guy, whatever. But from what I've kind of gathered and understand, I can get a prosecutor being in a situation going, look, I want to get a conviction. I want to get a W. That is what I'm fucking here for. Granted, some are fucked up and corrupt and they will go out of their way sometimes if a person's a different color. But that being said, overall, the mentality for a prosecutor is to get a win. So yeah, they could charge for murder. And I think for me, if you're putting me in the budget ass fucking, lawyer suit, I'm gonna go for that. That's what I want. I'm gonna go for goddamn blood. If I can prove it in my mind, I'm gonna go for that. But a prosecutor is like, can I prove this to a jury? Is a jury of 12 fucking people gonna convict on these charges within these bounds, So, though I feel like a count of manslaughter with a firearm and one count of assault, it's light for what happened. Just a quick rundown of the events. Owens' kids were playing, and Lorenz, there was a iPad that was left out, I guess, on the street. It might have been in her yard or just in her way. She picks it up. She gets very angry. She's very belligerent. And she winds up going over to the kids and taking, the skateboard and just throwing it at them. I believe that the skateboard was, the kids or something like that. And just yelling at them about playing in her yard or playing whatever. And she goes inside. The kids, one of the kids getting hit by the skateboard, goes inside, tells her mom. The mom goes and knocks on the door. Now, there has been run-ins between these neighbors. And I guess Susan was not playing any fucking games. And she's like, I'm just going to blast. I'm just going to start fucking blasting. I'm not even going to open the door. And Owens was shot and murdered. So that is why it's upsetting that there aren't actual murder charges. So don't get me wrong. As much as I am calling it quote-unquote clickbait or whatever, it's frustrating nonetheless. I can't say that enough. But I do hope that this is a slam dunk. That at least the prosecution can at least guide this one fucking in. And yeah, at least we can say that there's some kind of justice here. For whatever that's fucking worth. She could face up to 30 years in prison if convicted. So, there's that. Like I said, time is time. At the end of the day, no amount of time is going to bring back, a mother, a friend, It's very frustrating that, and not to mention, too, the fact that they literally just, looked at the situation on hand, and then there was no charges pressed until people came out. It was damn near about a week. But yeah, shit's fucked up, but I wanted to give an update there. And that being said, these are still felonies. Like I said, I do hope that she just at least gets the full extent of this. You feel me? We can move along though, and these next two are Supreme Court news stuff. So obviously, if you're not a big fan, I completely understand. And I gotta say too that some of this shit, especially in the second half of this article, the second article here, or the third, I guess, in the line, it gets a little bit deep for me. Like, we are talking about like a lot of just like, hey, we are talking about an issue at hand, but when we get into it, we're almost like talking fucking legal philosophy. And I fucking hate that shit, man. Like, this shit is supposed to be so black and white, but like the extent that these people go to fight something that just seems so plainly like you're either doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Anyway, let's get into it. The first article is the Associated Press. Supreme Court unfreezes Louisiana redistricting case that could boost black voting power before 2024. And then from The Hill, Supreme Court hands defeat to North Carolina GOP and election law clash. So the first one is a Supreme Court ruling over unfreezing. Let me just read. Let's lean on the article here. The Supreme Court on Monday lifted its hold on a Louisiana political remap case, increasing the likelihood that the Republican-dominated state will have to redraw boundary lines to create a second, mostly black congressional district. For more than a year, there has been a legal battle over the GOP-drawn political boundaries, with a federal judge, Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards, and opponents saying that the map is unfair and discriminates against black voters. The map, which was used in Louisiana's November congressional election, has white majorities in 5 of the 6 districts, all currently held by Republicans. This is despite black people accounting for 1/3 of the state's population. Another mostly black district could deliver another congressional seat to Democrats. So obviously this is a lot of politics to fight over. This is why the issue of gerrymandering is a thing. And I mean, it's something that we've talked about a decent amount on this podcast. I do try to talk about how that is such a pivotal thing in a state to state level, and then how that just affects things for you, obviously in a local sense, but then in a macro major sense when we're voting for, you know, our presidents, and how it can just feel like your voice is just literally getting drowned out somehow. And this is a big reason on why. And, you know, both sides are going to fight for their, you know, political existence. But to me, it is very fucked up when you have a group of people who are literally being silenced and cut out. Literally cut out. Like, they took a map and just said, nah, you guys are really like with these people. And it's like, no, we're not. We're our own group. Like, what are you talking about? We're all here. Like, let us vote and speak the way that we should. And Republicans will go through heaven and hell to defend these kind of maps. And, you know, this is why this whole case came to the Supreme Court. But it is surprising that we have, yet again, a supermajority that is conservative. They have these quote-unquote moderate parts that are making these kind of moves to say, well, maybe we should step back from the ledge. Maybe this isn't okay. And that is interesting, right? I do think that's important, because I think these are like pivotal big cases. And for them to like be mild as this supermajority is like surprising to some. Obviously, to me, I think this is a good thing. I'm happy to hear it, because I hate the idea of gerrymandering. At the end of the day, though, I do also hate that Democrats like will block themselves in ways. And it's like, the thing I understand and respect about this whole fucking, you know, game, if you want to call it that, is that Republicans and you know, conservatives, whatever, they know it's at stake. So bending the rules is whatever to them. Like, they don't care. And they will appeal to their constituents' like most base fucking feelings and desires, because at the end of the day, it keeps them elected, and it's quote unquote giving them what they want, right? Like, that helps them sleep at night at the end of the day. And when it comes to Democrats, you just never see them go for blood. And then when you do, it's just like the weirdest kind of shit and just feels performative. And then you'll also just have people just like, oh no, we're actually going to go by the law. And it's like, bro, what is happening here? Y'all are just, it's a comedy of errors. Like, as much as I despise what conservatives do, you at least have to respect the technique sometimes. They do well with the massive amount of money that they are given. We're kind of getting in the weeds here. I know. I'm sorry. I'm ranting. Whatever. But it is a cool thing to see a dub here. And then kind of getting to the other part of this article, I'm just kind of breezing through here. With the North Carolina part, I'll read a little bit. In a 6-3 decision from the Supreme Court on Tuesday, it rejected a bid to give state legislatures sweeping authority in drawing congressional maps and regulating federal elections, declining to endorse the so-called independent state legislature theory. Saying this out loud is not as easy as I thought. Once again, we are talking about just a switch in what you would think it would be, and seeing a 6-3 decision is just very major. Now, it was Gorsuch, Alito, and Clarence Thomas who were the dissenting. They were the three against. But the majority opinion was just like, look, this is too far. You're giving state legislature too much power if you allow this theory to be concrete. Which more or less from the conservative lens is just saying, okay, buddy, cool theory, but it's way too wild. Scale it back, come back to me, and maybe I'll say yes. Which I think is smart from the people that you are electing to be your quote-unquote moderate conservatives, because it's something that it gets brought up a lot by commentators, podcasters, whatever. I think everyone realizes that you kind of screwed the pooch. It is the dog catching the fucking car situation with Roe v. Wade. Like, the Supreme Court doing that was very massive. It had such a big blowback. And I think the rails kind of fell off a bit. And I think that really is affecting how this year has been. It feels more mild than it should be. We were expecting more heavy-handed shit, and I mean, there might be more SCOTUS talk down the pipe, as much as I fucking hate talking about them. And plus, there's no fun pictures, you know what I mean? Like, that ruins it, having to give you guys the same pictures over and over and over again. How fucking boring, But, yeah, I mean, at the same time, this is big news. I kind of wanted to get into Clarence Thomas's opinion, but I kind of fucking don't. He goes into this defense about how moot this whole conversation is, yada yada yada. But now that I've gotten here, I really don't want to get into it. Essentially he was just being the most anti-person in the room. I guess we can read a little bit here. Republicans retook control of North Carolina's top court in the midterm elections and overruled the underlying decision known as Harper 1. The High Court was effectively hearing an appeal of a ruling that... sorry, I lost my internet reset or something. Whoopsie. But essentially, this Harper ruling wasn't a thing, but it was still a matter of conversation. And... the records show, sorry, I got it back. The records show that Harper 1 finally decided the elections clause question. The judgment in that case continues to bind the parties before us, and the 2021 congressional maps would again take effect in North Carolina were we to reverse. Accordingly, we have the jurisdiction, and that was according to Roberts in his opinion. So, a lot of legal yada 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 bullshit. I don't want to stay in the weeds there. But once again, very two, interesting rulings for the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear both. I would love to see more rulings like that, but you just never know with SCOTUS. You never know what they're gonna fucking give you. So I'm just trying to give you the news that I get. How about that? We got one more thing to cover. I was initially gonna give you guys a COVID scam update, but then I just kind of felt like this is just a bigger number. Nothing has changed here. It didn't sound too much different than what I've already kind of said. I've already kind of made that foible before, so like let's not do it again. So like yeah, $200 billion COVID. Goddamn. Hopefully, we do better next pandemic. No, shit. What do I say? Next pandemic, like we're not still getting fucking variations of COVID. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. That's what I said. Ooh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Ooh wee. From the Associated Press, World News. Hollywood mogul acknowledges gifts to Netanyahu may have been excessive in second day of testimony. So this tweet fell in my lap, and I said, "COVID what? COVID what, team?" Like I just didn't care. I wanted to talk about this. We've talked about Netanyahu before. We've talked about Israel. Obviously, that's big news. That shit happens. We're talking about that conflict. We're talking about those issues. We're trying to tackle that shit. But Netanyahu, part of what I would feel is his big motivation, as a lot of these kind of populist kind of guys, is they wind up getting so embroiled and lost in the fucking sauce that, like, yeah, they gotta fight for their fucking lives because people are coming for them on every way they can. And yeah, like, you're being corrupt. You're doing grimy shit, dog. Like, could you at least not be the worst politician along the way, along with saying the worst kind of shit and doing the worst kind of shit? And he's like, nah. But this is just an interesting insight to me. So I was like, hey, let's talk about the things I've learned today. A billionaire Hollywood mogul took the stand for a second day on Monday in Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial, acknowledging that the long list of champagne, cigars, and jewelry he systematically gave to the Israeli prime minister may have been excessive. Excuse me. Yeah, that may have been a bit much. And I found, and I got to give the AP credit here, they gave me a good lead up here. Like, I was like, oh, you got to tell me more. You got to tell me more. Because something you're not telling me. And they lay it out for me. It's great. But Arnon Milchan, whose production credits include Pretty Woman, 12 Years a Slave, and Bohemian Rhapsody, is a key witness in one of 3 cases brought against Netanyahu. Prosecutors are trying to prove that Netanyahu committed fraud and a breach of trust. Now, I guess the way these, part of this trial worked, and the way, like, Milchan, was testifying, it's via a video conference. And then I guess at some point, too, they did, I don't want to say a deposition. I'm probably using the wrong word. But essentially, prosecution. And then also, which I kind of felt was weird, but like Netanyahu's wife came and they interviewed him and talked to him and got his side of the story and things of that nature, like how things happen, what, I guess more or less timeline, whatever. And it was also ordered that Netanyahu's wife could not look at him and could not talk to him, not speak. She was just there to witness what had happened, to be like, yo, this is all on the level with the transcripts and everything, I guess. I don't know. But essentially, it's kind of a turnaround story, because it's like, wait, why did you give him all this? Like, why did you curry all this favor? And initially, as I'm reading this story, I'm like, maybe he's just like a guy who really is believing in the cause. Like, he believes in Israel. He believes in his home. Like, he just wants to support his guy, who's Benjamin Netanyahu, who's prime minister. He's a leader. Like, you just want to give and give and you give. But even me, I'm like, I'm not buying my own copium here. Like, I don't get this. This doesn't make sense. But he was giving so many gifts. This was so common. They were giving code words to the shit. So cigars were known as leaves, champagne was known as roses, and then luxury dress shirts were known as dwarves. How do you say that in a sentence? So the 7 dwarves came in. How do you like them? I can't imagine that conversation. Just tell me you got me some shirts, dog. Just full breach here. What are you doing? But it's so funny because obviously he's just giving and giving and giving, right? And then the police come knocking, and he's all of a sudden understanding, like, oh my gosh, maybe you're right. Maybe I am giving too much. And he goes out of his way too to add, I've given so much, and like I haven't gotten anything in return. And that's when I go, and that's in another, like, Metal Gear Solid exclamation mark. Like that just pops up, like, no, no, come on, man. You're a smart guy, right? You're part of the movie. Come on, come on. You're grifting yourself. That's weird. That's weird to say this. To say this to the cop. Something's not right. It smells fishy. But according to the indictment against Netanyahu, Milchan gave Netanyahu and his wife a supply line. Damn, they're saying a supply line of lavish gifts valued at nearly $200,000. The indictment accuses Netanyahu of using his influential perch to assist Milchan to secure a U.S. visa extension by drawing on his diplomatic contacts, including former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. And I go, got it. Now I understand. Now I get it. At the end of the day, this man is like, yes, I'm going to grease some wheels with some leaves, with some dwarves, okay? I'm going to do some Hobbit talk, I guess. This is weird. But he's gonna do some greasing, do some pumping, and when he needs a favor, BB's got him. BB's got him. And which is, it's kind of sad here, because this is, sadly to me, when I really look at it, I'm not a Netanyahu guy, but this is a story of fake friends. Like, at the end of the day, Netanyahu didn't ask for this. You came to him, you started greasing him up, and Netanyahu does deliver. Like, he gets a chance to, I believe, I think Netanyahu says, like, oh, okay, I'll try, I'll make it happen for you. You have to sit down, I think, like, with dinner with him or something like that. And, let me just read. Let's just read some more. What am I doing here? Milchan testified Monday that he had turned to Netanyahu and others for help about the visa extension. He said Kerry called him one day and met him at a hotel. So that was actually like him and John Kerry meeting. So it's like, what do you mean you didn't get anything, dog? Like, you got an actual political meeting from a guy from the U.S. That's crazy. Describing Kerry as a good friend, he said that Kerry could not help. Oh, no, gosh, I am misinterpreting this. My bad. I'm doing that live. Whoopsie. He said Kerry called him one day and met with him at the hotel. Describing Kerry as a good friend, he said that Kerry cannot help. I don't know. I'm maybe in the weeds here, but whatever. It didn't work out for him, and it's fake friends for betraying your dude who came through for you. That is the long short here. Let's see. Is there anything else I really wanted to talk here? No, that's it. That's all I got. I thank you so much for tuning in, and let me get to the shill part. I do have to do that sometimes, most days. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you'd like to help out, support the effort. You do get a shout out once a month. That's for my newsies. I say your name on the podcast. Also, I'll plug whatever project thing you're doing. And then also, free ways to hit me up. Facebook.com/Isaiah News. Also, let's see, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know this is kind of a scuffed ending here, kind of botching it, not sticking it. Give it a 4 out of 10. But I thank you so much for tuning in. I thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.